Hello my friends and welcome back to Module 3 of the Associate Entrepreneurship Program. My name is Henrik Schill and today we're going to talk about business model innovation. We're going to take the ideas that you came up with last time and now turn those ideas into businesses. Between last week and now, I hope you had a chance to do a couple of what we call solution interviews. So you actually talk to potential customers. You maybe did a little bit of market research, so now you have some data points that might change the way you think about your idea. So before we sort of get started on the business model, you definitely want to maybe potentially consider revising some of the aspects of your business. So that's step number one, is talk to your team and figure out, do we need to change our idea based on what we learned between last session and today? Did you learn something in your interviews that makes you reconsider certain aspects of your idea? Then now's the time to sort of just discuss that, and then we're going to get started on the business model. Today I will talk a bit about some generic general business models, and then you will have a chance to fill out the first version of your business model. And this is pretty exciting because this is where your ideas become a lot more real. When an idea is simply that, when it's simply an idea on a piece of paper, there are a lot of different unknowns. There are a lot of different things that you haven't considered yet. But when we have to fill out a business model canvas or the startup canvas that you'll be working on today, you need to consider a lot of other things. And that is really what makes up a real business and how we transform an idea into a business. So I'm excited to teach you about this. It's something that's been very powerful for me in my own entrepreneurial career. And the tool that you're going to be using today has been adopted by millions of entrepreneurs around the world in different types of formats. But really whenever you think about an idea, you can create a business model in just the course of 45 minutes or an hour. And now you have a very good template that you can use to test that business and figure out if it actually has some real potential. So before we get started today, you need to pick your final idea. So that's what you need to get done right now. So if you haven't picked your final idea, or if you do need to change it a little bit based on what you talk to potential customers about, then right now take 5 minutes and discuss the idea sort of before we move on. So 5 minutes to just regroup with your team, talk about whether or not you need to change it. If not, you're ready to get started. Now we're going to get started on working on the first version of your business model. It used to be in business school that the way we taught you how to start a business would be that you would have to fill out this long business plan. It's typically 50 or 100 pages and it takes a long time. Now we've moved away from that, and instead of writing a business plan, you simply fill out a business model. A simple one-page canvas that contains all the most important aspects of your business. And if you look at some of the most successful companies today, like Airbnb or Uber or Netflix or Dropbox, some of these really big, very successful companies, if you look at the way they innovate, it's really more about the business model than about the product itself. So we will talk today also around how you can do what's called business model innovation, which means not just innovating around the product itself, but innovating around the way you're creating value for customers and the way you're making money off of those products. Typically, a business model can be described for both creating and describing your own ideas. So you can prototype a business idea very quickly, and you can also create competitive advantage. Competitive advantage means a way that you're beating the competitors, right? So when you're launching a business, you will typically have some competitors in that business. And by writing out your business model on a canvas, you can figure out how can you beat the competitors. So that's a pretty smart way of doing that. Traditional innovation has been around the product and the service you're building, and now we see a lot of innovation happening around the business model. For example, when Apple launched the iPod, like this little device you can listen to music on the go, and the big innovative thing around the iPod is not so much the product. The product is also nice, it's well designed, but Apple was not the first company to launch an MP3 player, right? Where you can bring music with you on the go and listen to music in the form of MP3s. There are other companies doing that. But what Apple did, and what was so brilliant about the way they did it, was that Apple thought, well, we don't want to just sell a product. We want to sell more than just the device. We also want to sell the music. So they found a way to innovate around the business model. And the real innovation was really iTunes and the iTunes store, where Apple has all their customers come back. Every time they need to put new music on your iPod, you need to go into iTunes. And whenever you interact with your customers, like from Apple's perspective, they're very interested in having the customers come back over and over again, because every time you interact with your customers, you might be able to sell something else. And you can upsell additional products and services. So that's an example of business model innovation. Today I want to give you a couple of examples of 3 generic business models that are very well known, and you can feel free to get inspired and steal any of these ideas and plug them into your business model. So hang on tight and try to get a couple of ideas for things you can use in your business. The first model I want to introduce is called bait and hook. Just like when you're fishing, right? You throw out the bait and you catch a fish. This is the similar idea. The economic logic of the bait and hook business model is that you are selling one product at a loss, meaning you're not making any money on selling this product. But the idea is that you get customers hooked, and then they will come back to you where you can sell other products where you make more money. So if this is you on the left-hand side and this is your customer, you have one transaction initially where you give away something for free or give away something at a very low price. And customers get very excited, and then you get them hooked, and then you will keep being able to making money on those customers going forward. A good example here is Gillette, you know, the shaving company, right? They sell these really nice shavers, and they give away the razor handle almost for free or very cheap. But then you have to pay a lot of money when you need to replace the razor blades. So that's an example of putting out the bait. You get a nice razor handle really cheaply, and now you need to buy these very expensive blades. Other examples for this type of product could be gaming consoles like a PlayStation or a Nintendo Wii, an Xbox, things like that, where you get the box itself is relatively cheap. The company doesn't make a lot of money on the box. They make a lot of money on the games, right? So there are a lot of different examples of this type of bait and hook business model. Printers is another example. When you buy a printer, it's also relatively inexpensive to buy a printer, but then when you have to get new ink cartridges for your printer, that's where the company makes the money. So that's the bait and hook business model. The next model I want to talk about is called freemium. Freemium business model is where you give away sort of a basic version of your product for free, and your customers can keep using that product for free. And if they do that and they don't pay you anything, we call them users. Okay, so now we have new terminology. We call customers that don't pay us anything but they still use our product, we call them users. And then we call customers that are paying us something for customers. Okay, so users and customers. And as you can see here, we have one group of customers that are not paying us anything. They're just using the freemium version of our product. So we call them users. And then they're hoping that over time, some of them users will actually convert into paying customers. But keep in mind that only a small percentage of your users will actually become paying customers. But a good amount of examples of the bait and hook business model, of the freemium model is for example Skype. Some of you might use Skype to communicate with your friends for free, and you can call people on their computer for free using Skype. But if you want to call cell phones or landlines, you have to pay. So most people will probably just have Skype for free. You can try to raise your hand if you're using Skype for free and look around the classroom. It will probably be the most of you. And then raise your hand now if you're paying to use Skype. Yeah, I'm probably the only idiot. But it turns out that very small percentage of your customers will actually be paying customers. Most of the customers you have will be freemium users. But in order for your freemium business model to work, you need a lot of users. And that costs typically a lot of money. So be careful with the freemium model. If you give away your product for free, you do need to raise a lot of funding initially, so you don't run out of money servicing all these freemium users before you get enough kind of paying customers for your business. So that's the freemium business model, and it's very much used in apps, it's in gaming and things like that, where you can use the basic version for free, but if you want to upgrade, if you want to get extra features, you need to pay for the subscription, and then you become a paying customer. The last one I want to introduce today is called Connection Platform. This one is a little more complex, where you are servicing multiple groups of customers, and as you can see in the model here, customer group number 2 and 3 are not paying you anything. So what are they called? Users, right? They don't pay you anything, but because you have so many users, you will be able to sell, for example, targeted ads in the form of marketing for large companies, and they want to pay you to market on your platform. So a company like Facebook, they use the Connection Platform model when they are introducing, basically that's the way they make money. They offer the product for free to most of their users, to all the users, and they have over 1 billion users who are using the Facebook platform, and because they have so many users, now they can sell advertisement slots for large companies that want to advertise on their platform. Okay, so those were a couple of generic business models, and it gives you a couple of examples on how companies can innovate around the business model, the way they're making money when they're selling their products. I do want to warn you though, one quick warning here about advertisement. Don't just assume that you're going to make a lot of money on advertisement, because it's not so easy. You typically need a lot of users or a lot of customers on your platform in order to make money on advertisement. The way advertisement works is that you typically operate with something called CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, which means per 1,000 times that you show your ad, some company is going to pay you X amount of dollars for having basically brought people to see your ad. So if you put an ad on a website, per 1,000 people who sees that ad, you need to pay whatever company you paid to have that ad displayed on their website for. You need to pay them X amount of dollars. And people would think, oh wow, you probably want to pay hundreds of dollars for 1,000 potential customers. But it turns out you can only make between $1 and $4, sometimes a little bit more if it's very targeted ads that have a high conversion rate. We'll get into some of those dynamics a little bit later in a later session because it becomes a little complex. You don't need to worry about that now. But essentially, just keep this in mind. If you want to make $1,000 on putting ads on your website or ads on your ad, you need to have up to potentially 1 million people looking at your website every month. And that's not easy. It's not easy to get 1 million people to come to your site. So be careful with advertisement. Instead, try to build a product that is so valuable to people that they're willing to pay you money for that product. Okay. This is the Startup Canvas. It's a tool that I've built inspired by another tool by Alexander Osterwalder, an entrepreneur and PhD researcher from Switzerland, who came up with a tool called the Business Model Canvas. And essentially, the Startup Canvas you're going to be using is just a little bit easier to figure out how to use, and it works really well for these super early stage companies. So I'm now going to introduce the Startup Canvas, and then you will have about 45 minutes to fill out the first version of your business model. We always start with rubric number 1. Okay, so it's pretty easy. It goes from 1 to 7. So you start with rubric number 1, where you describe the problem that you're solving, and try just to focus on the main problem that you're solving with your business. What is the pain point you're addressing? Why do you care about this problem? Right? That's something an investor would want to know, like why do you even care? Then you describe who are the customers or the users for your product, and you try to figure out who are the early adopters. Early adopters are the first people you will market your product to, the people who are most desperate for a solution to their problem. Those are called early adopters. Early adopters are people who not only have the problem that you want to solve, they also know they have the problem. Right? They've come to this realization that this is a real problem, and they're now looking for a solution. right? So find early adopters who have a problem, they know they have a problem, and they're looking for a solution. So describe who are those customers that you want to target with your business. Then you describe your solution. What are the key features that you want to include in your product or your service? Why is this valuable to users? What are the channels? What are the channels that you're going to use to communicate to your customers? How will you find the first 1,000 customers? Right? Are you paying for advertisement? Are you on the radio? Are you going to walk around and knock on doors? Do you have some kind of partners that you might be valuable to you? How are you going to reach those customers? And how are you going to get the product into the hands of your customers? Revenue streams. How are you making money? Figure out how much you're going to charge. How are you going to charge? Is it an online payment? Is it through PayPal or credit card? Is it cash or check? How much do you charge? And then think about, again, instead of just having a one-time transaction with a customer, try to see if you can create some kind of ongoing revenue, meaning that the customers pay you every week or every month. Then you're going to eventually make a lot more money per customer. So maybe you want to sign them up for a subscription model, meaning that they pay you X amount every month, similar to Netflix or Dropbox or other companies like that that have you pay something every month. Then you need to think about what are the costs. So how much will it cost you to build this product? And I recommend in this case that eventually you will need to call up a developer. You need to talk about manufacturing partners so that you know exactly how much will it cost to build this product. How many people do you have on payroll? How much do you need to pay yourself? Do you need to rent an office building? All those different things are really important. So nail down and actually put real numbers on how much will it cost. The unique value proposition is what makes you stand out. Like, why would customers buy your product or use your service instead of using another product or another service? So that's very important. You need to have the answer in a clear and concise way that describes why people will use your product. The unfair advantage is essentially what makes you uniquely capable to build this business. Why you? Why are you the best people to start this company in the world? You need to have a good answer for that. And lastly, impact. Why is this product or service making the world a better place? It's always a good idea to have a good answer to that, right? Why should people care? What is it? How is it that you're making the world a better place? Are you helping people solve problems? Are you improving the environment or saving the environment? Or how is it that you're really impacting the world in a positive way? Good. This is the startup canvas. Now you will have 45 minutes to fill out the first version of your canvas. So you will each get one of these templates. I recommend you use sticky notes, just like we talked about last time, because you won't get it right the first time. So it's much better to basically write down the different answers to those different elements on the canvas on sticky notes, because then you can always throw them away and write another point. So use sticky notes and fill out all 7 building blocks on your canvas. Don't think about making it perfect, because it won't be perfect. Better done than perfect, okay? So just focus on creating the first version of your canvas, and then we'll talk more about how to then test the different things that you put on the canvas. Welcome back. I hope that was a fun exercise. I hope that was useful for all of you, and you found that by filling out this startup canvas, you really got to think through many of the different aspects of your business, and that you feel like now you sort of have a better idea and better understanding of how the different aspects of your business is all connected. It turns out that you have now created the first version of your business model, but you might need to prototype many different versions of your business before you find the final version. But in the business model that you have in front of you now, you can see sort of how everything is connected. And you also might get an understanding of the fact that if you change one element of your business, other things will automatically change as well. Such as if you change the channels that you're using to interact with your customers, that might affect your cost of running your business. It might also affect the value proposition you can offer. and so on and so forth. So everything is connected, and that's the fun thing about working in a business, that you can always tweak on different aspects of your business, and that will change how you're engaging with customers, how much money you're making, how fast you're growing, and so forth, So we're going to be working a lot on your business model in the coming weeks, but now you sort of have a good first version of your business model. Some of you might be thinking, well, that's great, Henrik, but what are we going to do now? That's what I'll talk very briefly about today, but otherwise we'll have a chance to really work on these business models in the next couple of sessions. One thing that's very important to realize is that all you have right now is the list of guesses, right? You have now created your canvas. Hopefully you remember to use sticky notes, because really what we have here is a list of guesses, or what we call assumptions, right? We are assuming that this group of people, these customers, have this problem that we've identified, and that this solution will solve this problem for those people. But we don't know. Everything is uncertain. And as an entrepreneur, we need to have that understanding that we cannot just assume that we understand all those different elements of the business. What we do need to do now is to go and test whether we are correct about those assumptions. Because if we simply believe that we are always right about our initial ideas, we may end up building a product that no one wants. So we assume that the world, of course, would buy this product if we just build it. That's that sort of build it and they will come type of mentality. It's very dangerous, because oftentimes you will build a product that you think is cool, but it turns out that nobody else really finds it that interesting, and you're not going to be able to sell that product. So we don't want to make that mistake of assuming that we know everything about the world. What we do need to want to do is we're going to test all these different aspects of our business. And this brings me back to a very important question about what is a startup? What is a startup? Right? We talked about how what entrepreneurs are and the entrepreneurial mindset, but when starting a startup, what is that all about? And a startup is sort of the early foundation of a company, but it's very different from a large company. A large, well-established company sort of knows what it's doing, right? In a large company like Intel or Microsoft or Google or HP or Walmart, they know what they're doing, right? They know the business they're in, they know their customers, they know their products, they know their pricing. But for you and me, when we're starting a new company, we don't know any of that. So one of my favorite definitions of a startup is from a gentleman called Steve Blank. He is a serial entrepreneur, and he teaches entrepreneurship at UC Berkeley, Columbia University, and Stanford. And his definition of a startup is that a startup is a temporary organization designed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. And what's highlighted here is searching. Your only purpose in life as a startup founder is to search for answers to all these different unknowns. There's so many different things that we don't know about our company, and therefore we need to go and test all those different assumptions. And that's what we're going to do in the coming weeks. We're going to follow something called the Lean Startup Method. The Lean Startup Method is a very powerful framework that allows you to test all the different aspects of your business in the fastest possible way. So when you have an idea, you start learning about your customers, learning about the marketplace, then you build what's called a minimum viable product, also called an MVP. And an MVP is essentially just an experiment that will allow you to test the riskiest aspects of your business with the least effort. I'll say that one more time. An MVP is an experiment that allows you to test the riskiest aspect of your business with the least effort. Okay, so what is the fastest way that we can learn what kind of customers might care about our product? What is the fastest way that we can find out what channels are the best to use, right? So all the different things that you put in your business model, we need to test. And that's what we're going to do in the coming weeks. For now, just focus on conducting more interviews so you get more input from customers. We talked about there are 2 different types of interviews. The problem interview, where you focus on learning about early adopters' problems. You don't talk about your solution at all, because it's not about your solution right now. It's just understanding the problem better. Then the solution interview is where you want to find out what are the features that people really care about. So here you're still not pitching. You're not trying to sell anything, but you're trying to learn what features that you've thought about might actually resonate with your customers. So you try to determine what are the must-have features and what are the most important problems that people want you to solve with your product. And then you can try to use some kind of demo to test the different aspects of your business. Now, my friends, at the end of the session, I hope you have a bit of time left. I'd like you to do this watering hole exercise, which is essentially just pitching your idea to your buddy team in order to get some feedback. So get together with one of the other teams. So hopefully you have an even number of teams. Otherwise, you can have one group with 3 teams. And then you present your business model and start in sort of chronological numeric order. So start with number 1 and then 2, 3, 4. Try to present the whole business model in 3-4 minutes and then get feedback from your peers. When you get feedback, remember, feedback is a gift. Don't try to defend yourself. Simply just write down what people say, so that you can pitch it even better next time. That was all I had for today. I hope you enjoyed or will enjoy Module 3, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, guys.